Okie dokie. Oh, here comes Jenna.
I'm going to eat some soup while we're meeting, so I'm going to turn off my video, but I am totally here and listening and participating.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah, because I got a big surprise for you, Gail. Got big news for you, so don't go far.
I promise
Oh,
I'm right here, but I don't want
okay,
to slurp in your ear.
perfect. Okay. So folks, I just want to jump in about the murals thing real quick and get an update because Claire, I've got some interesting news for you too. Just to get everybody updated real quick. All the artists have turned in the scaled to context designs. So we're at a place now where the city's doing their final kind of run through of those designs. Hey, Susan. Hey. So the only one that was really stuck was Wade. And so Claire, thank you so much for checking out the space and working there. The city engineer and our liaison there and I all connected today. And it's interesting because they loved Wade's design so much that they wanted to emulate the template that Claire had put in the Google form for folks to like transpose the idea on. He loved that and wanted to actually add those as intersections. So we can pull it up to look at it again. But the long and short of it was that the location, Adams and Clark, is just totally bizarre and strange, and there's no real symmetry to it. So we have a strange proposition from the city that we could either do all of Wade's design inside the 28-foot circle, the roundabout, which would be a really kind of a small scaled piece, but I wonder if it might be a benefit to him. Were you guys able to chat with each other, Claire, about that?
No, not about that.
Okay, all right, I was gonna
But
call
I
him
think he
today.
was, he did mention, 2 days was pretty short for him in his process. So
Mhm.
I'd want to talk to Wade again, but it almost sounds like smaller might be better.
Okay,
But yeah, we should definitely um ask him about that.
okay, that sounds really good. That's kind of my thinking too, because the scale of that piece could get huge. So but Gail, this is the interesting news. I came back to them with the second and Monroe question again, and because of the limitations that they're giving us for the Clark and Adams roundabout, they agreed to put Wade's piece at the Second and Monroe intersection, but it would have to be either a perfect square or a perfect circle, and they will not add the intersection marks there. So let me show everybody that so that we can all get everyone on the same page, because I know we have so many designs here that, let's see if I can
I'm
get
willing to
y'all.
put my soup down for this.
Yeah, yeah. So are y'all are you all able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if we look at this outer edge here, this is so fascinating that this Wade actually painted this rendition as a painting, but this was based on the original template that Claire provided in the form. So the engineer of the city loved it so much that they were actually going to add these crosswalks. So because Adams and Clark is too crazy and irregularly shaped, we've got the choice now for Wade to do inside a 28-foot circle of the roundabout. Just all design has to stay in that footprint. So this, the design would change into just a simple circle, or if he chooses to work on the second and Monroe location, it would just have to be a standard square or a big circle, because they can't add those intersections, crosswalks at that intersection. So I'm wondering
Wait,
what,
I'm confused. So they love the design, they love the crosswalks, but they don't want us to actually let him make them? That is so
Nope.
weird. What is up
Yeah.
with that?
Well, when we talk about additions for safety of the crosswalks in the Whitaker, it's a strange multi-leveled conversation that really has to do with adding maintenance to the city's repertoire of work they have to do. So although through this pilot program, they did
Gotcha.
offer, for us as a community to come back and say, hey, from a safety level, we need crosswalks here, 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 and here. But in the larger scope, they're going to be very judicious about where they give them to us. So taking this intersection at all, Second and Monroe, was a huge victory because it was originally not included. It's considered a higher volume. But they made some really interesting accommodations. For instance, I was really wanting to get the Fifth and Tyler by Susan's place done. First, they said no, because it had only 4 places, but now they say yes. So now we're going to have that beautiful piece by Elena there. So yeah, it's been a huge rotating, constantly changing thing. And then I have more that's huge, but I think taking into consideration what Claire said is really important, that I think Wade and a lot of other folks are really concerned about only the 2-day painting window. So perhaps pointing Wade towards maybe doing it inside the roundabout at the original location would be prudent. And then we just know that as a group that we've got Second and Monroe as the next approved place. And maybe we could widen the criteria of theme at that point. So.
Mhm. Okay.
My observation of Wade painting the telephone or utility box at the corner of Van Buren and First Street was that he's very meticulous, but he's not very quick. He was there a very, very long time. And I think that might be a bit of his process. So yeah, the more we can support him through this, I think the better. Otherwise, it might end up feeling frustrating for him, and we certainly don't want that. We want him to feel empowered and excited like we are. But I appreciate you doing this work, Doriandra. That's really exciting.
Thank you, Gail. Yeah, and that's excellent feedback. I agree. We want to really offer a good place for folks to feel excited and not intimidated, because I mean, I'm still struggling to get the answers about what these 2 days really look like. There was a point where the city said to me, well, those timelines will be beholden to the vendors that bring the street barricades. And so that's what, 8 to 5, 9 to 5. And I said, well, can't they do overtime? Like, this is a really big deal. And they said no. And so city came back and mentioned to me, well, maybe we'll let you guys take ownership of the barricades themselves. And then like WCAT has to move them into somebody's garage or whatnot. I talked to a WCAT lawyer and she was as horrified as I was about that. Like, no, we can't be responsible for city property, But so there's a lot of, I think, real strong strength now in starting to assign artists to the WCAT ambassadors here that are here to kind of help think tanking, like how to attain that 2-day window. Josh, last time we talked, that was brilliant. You're talking through the lens of an artistic, person, how you would lay down elements of the design first, so like Susan, I'm hoping you can mentor and work with the lady that's Elena, that's at your corner, Fifth and Tyler. And kind of, I think if we start assigning artists now to where folks live closest to kind of get some support and start thinking about the application of these things, that would be really helpful for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know who,
Oh, let me show you.
I was sick the last meeting, so I don't know.
That's right. Are you better now? That was a booster
Was-
thing. Huh?
Yeah, it was a booster thing. Yeah, it was about 48 hours of
Yeah,
hell.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got my booster the same day you did too, and I felt pretty bad, but it was nothing like yours. So I felt for
Yeah.
you. I was bracing for
Oh.
impact, but
This is Elena, and that's gonna go where?
this is
It's-
Fifth and Tyler, right by you.
Oh my God, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, the city told me no on that first, and I kept fighting for it because we really didn't have anything in that corner of the city. Everything was up on Clark, mural Clark Boulevard. But yeah, this one is going to work
Cool.
out really sweetly. So this
Okay.
was her original kind of the mandala or the
Yes, yes, I remember that.
so I really love the way she's revised it with the wider background now.
Nice.
So yeah, let's look at them if you guys would like to see. We've got Barbara here at Chesser and Cedar. These are her scaled to context and location maps.
Mhm.
So she's got her distances. That's super exciting. And we've got Tamia here. She's going to be using the one crosswalk we have in the Whitaker that has the stripes.
Cool.
Or that we're allowed to use. So this will be that acquired immunity. The city agreed to let her go 10 inches out from the edges of the blocks. So that's going to be a really bright, sweet thing.
Mhm.
Here's another angle of it. Then we've got Miss Liza Burns. This one's fabulous over at Lawrence and Clark. This is going to take really nice shape there. So yeah, the city was today reviewing these today and everything was looking pretty good. You know, I thought that there'd be some, they'd say, oh, we'll need it 36 feet instead of 32, but I think we're in a good place. There's Tyler's. That's the road over to the Rose Garden. And then we have Christina Schuler. This is beautiful. This is the west intersection there at Clark and Jackson. And this was the one we loved so much, the by hand. But because again, we had the absence of this type of crosswalk, this all worked out lovely where she was excited and I know will be too, to be able to see actually more of her design this way.
Mhm.
And then we've got Elena's that we looked at there, Fifth and Tyler. Here is Eric's scaled Clark and Grand.
Cool.
Super cute.
That one turned out good.
Yeah. That'll be right near Ellen's house. So hopefully she can be
Oh, nice.
the ambassador of that one. And then
Mhm.
we've got Brett here at Second and Lawrence.
Oh,
It'd be just beautiful. So that's just thrilling that he'll have that so close to his studio and yeah. So, okay. That's what we got there. And now, hey, there's Travis. Hi.
Hi,
Hey,
Travis.
Travis.
Nice.
wow.
He lives.
Welcome back. We missed you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, good to be back. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
I feel like I missed a bunch of stuff, so I'm just kind of sitting here and trying to catch up.
Nice.
We're super glad to see you and that you're here because you went through a lot. That's pretty amazing. You feeling back to normal a little bit or?
I'm getting better, yeah. Getting more
Good.
mobile and stuff. And, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but
Real good to hear.
Yeah, looks like you guys are doing good work.
I think it's also
American
it's
cheese.
Yeah, we're getting there. So the one big kind of
I'm sorry, Swiss and cheese.
shocker, I think, today that came from the city planning folks regarding the traffic closures for us. You know, they really limited the window of time that we could schedule our murals based on Oregon 22. But the enormity of that event is really hitting the city, and our project is kind of getting more and more out of their ability to even think about. And so I keep pushing back and keep pushing back. And I think it really hit home today when our most, passionate and supportive liaison with the city told me just the stunning facts of it, like this is the largest sporting event in the world next to the Olympics. This has happened in Tokyo traditionally, London traditionally, and the city is just like overwhelmed with the enormity of it because it's in America for the first time ever, they expect that the attendance may be even higher than they anticipated. And so like I think last week on the city activation call about this thing, I think I heard them say there's already 100,000 tickets sold. And at this point, there's not a hotel room between here and Grants Pass and, Portland. So they,
What are the dates? What are the dates that's happening? I don't even know.
sure, let me tell you here. It begins on July 15th and runs through July 24th. So the city asked me not to do any of our painting between those 2 weeks. So I had given the city a proposal based on artists and their availability and all the many conversations I've had with all of our folks about when they can actually do these. And so we were trying to get them into 3 weekends. The crosswalks were going to occur in June on the 11th because they're just one day. And then the 2 various sets of the big intersection murals were going to be July 9 and 10 and July 30 and 31st. But the city just told me today that they don't even think they'd have the resources to give us those 6 closures. So based on all the traffic, all the work, all the chaos, that they're trying to figure out. So very disappointing, but very, very logical. They're just trying to figure out how we're all going to be able to move around as residents, let alone have 6 massive things painted. So yeah, they're kind of asking me to go humbly back in hand to the CDC and ask for a big extension. So that just bites beyond belief because I've just finished all the work with the notification postcards. We added the cool banner across the top like you guys suggested, and those were all dialed in, and the printer's about to start doing those tomorrow because I was trying to stay on our schedule. So now, yeah, I've just kind of hit a wall
Well,
with,
good thing you didn't get printed already. So
yeah. What do y'all think? Should we just keep trying to push the city to do this, or should everybody just?
no, I would hope
Oh,
for an
wait,
extension and wait. I would just wait for sure.
Yeah,
Don't.
I'd try an extension instead of pushing on people that are.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what
Yeah.
sounds like to me.
Yeah,
Even a month, like we could do it in August,
Right.
that's,
no problem. So just to reiterate, it sounds like what you said, the city said they aren't able to help with the road closures in June or July. They're really,
yeah,
it's not just end of July, it's like really any point now.
yeah, they'd given me a firm parameter that I was trying to work around. And so today that just flipped upside down because they realized that no, we actually were wrong in giving you that parameter. We just can't even talk about this basically from mid-June to all the way to the end of July and partly into August while they all try to recover. So,
Right.
so
What do
yeah,
I'm curious your thoughts about asking the CDC, like what that might look like if that's.
I think normally I wouldn't be that concerned, but with the new elections with the board and all the transition that's going to involve, Ian being the grant writer, the grant compliance, the finance person, and like how that transition of that's a big shift to put to the new chair. And so it comes at just a very delicate time in the board transition. So I think that's the real concern for me, is that there's so many moving parts with a grant this big. And then of course, all the artists, I mean, that's the big heartbreaker, because, you know, it's been said to me by a couple folks in the city, oh, well, you know, sometimes grants don't work out, you just give the money back. And I'm like, oh no, not on WCAT's watch, because that's a really bitter pill. And
Kidding? No, no.
yeah, we can't pull that.
No.
And be like, hey, sorry, didn't work out. You're not going to get paid your 5,000 and all this work you've done with us. I mean, not on my watch. And I know you all stand with me on not letting that happen. So I guess,
Well, back to identifying other options. I know you had said that acquiring the city property, barricades and all that was not doable, but it's maybe more not ideal. It could be doable.
Yeah, I was going to say, would it be possible not to go through the city to use their equipment and resources, but rather rent our own barricades and submit our own road closure permits for approval?
no, yeah, that won't work at all, because the city and I have worked out a thing where they're going to be insuring our people. I mean, our lawyer now is working with the city. We're already talking about the MUOs, and no, it can't be.
It's really intertwined.
Oh my God, there's like 17 layers just to
Yeah.
get you able to, for us to even stand on the street with a paintbrush. So we can't take any of that on ourselves. Yeah, Gail, sorry about that long wait. Thinking.
No, that's totally fine. I just wanted to speak to a couple of council specific points there.
Mhm.
First off, unfortunately, one of the things we do when we contract with a lawyer is we agree to do what they suggest that we do. And so if the lawyer says that it's too much for us to take on the liability of city property, unfortunately, we have to take that advice. It's probably good advice. You know, if something were to go wrong, you know, those things are complicated to replace, and we don't want to get into that mess. As far as the the grant stuff goes, I do think it's important to remember that Ian has committed to continue to work on grant things for the WCC through the month of June and I think July, although we should clarify that with him. So, I mean, he's doing limited availability, but he has said that he will be fully available on Sundays to talk about these things and deal with these things and address whatever needs to be addressed. He has not completely stepped away yet, and I think we should take advantage of that opportunity to work with him while we still have him. Um, as far as the barriers, I'm sure that it is not possible to move this timeline up any faster. But if that were possible, how would that look? And would it be possible? Here's what I'm thinking. 2 days is not the same as 48 hours. How expensive would it be to rent some lights and just leave those barriers up past the time until we're tired and go to sleep and then get up the next day and have them set up areas so that you know they just, or they don't have to set up areas, they just stay up all night long. The intersection is just closed for 48 hours. Is that even a possibility? And maybe it's not. And
It's not. Yeah, I asked that already, and the city said no. They kind of smiled and just laughed and said, yeah, really bad things happen at night. And Travis can attest to that. uh, things just get nutty at night, and they're absolutely not willing to leave a closure like that in place overnight. So that was part
how
of
are they going to protect the painting then overnight? How are they going to prevent cars from
there is
driving over it? There's no protection. It's
there's
just
no
maybe going to
protection.
get
Nope.
ruined.
Nope.
That sucks.
Yeah, in my meeting with our lawyer this week, we made a very large part of that in terms of like how we want our artists to understand that the nature of this work is very ephemeral. It's very random. It could be ruined in 24 hours. You know, you could have some guy like, we could have some anti-vaxxer, like they destroyed the Black Lives Matter mural the next morning, right? Like, so the nature of the work is, anyway, sorry, that's a side tangent, but great question, Gail, and one that I already hoped they would acquiesce to, but they did not. So yeah, that goes back to that question of like, okay, what time is it for then? Because I wanted to be able to tell our artists like, okay, guys, it's going to be all right. Like, let's, start imagining from, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever, but it was beholden to the rental service that the city contracts with to bring the barriers. Oh, yeah, there's so many layers to this. And
Sheesh.
Well, it sounds like if Ian is available once a week, that maybe an extension with the CDC could be feasible with his involvement.
I hope so. It's just unfortunate because like my contract with WCC ends at the timeline that the CDC project does too. I was supposed to see that to the end, so our grant, Ian's involvement, and my work on it was all supposed to end on July 31st. That's when we were supposed to wrap it. And then I had all the deliverables due to the CDC. So, and I know that I think Ian is traveling. So yeah, it's just we have a finance meeting Tuesday, and that'll have to be a really big part of the topic as to how to do this because,
Well, and it may be a situation where we need to either offer you an extension on your contract to cover that time. Obviously, you shouldn't have to work for free, or find somebody who can, if that's not something you're interested in doing, which would be fine. That's your choice. So your contract ends when it ends. But yeah, I think we should have some continuity if we're going to stretch it into August or September.
yeah, oh, totally. I would stay on this until we see it through, but it's just then will the CDC say yes? And, so they just have to, because this is such a thing where we can't leave all these artists now feeling
Yeah.
just no
I
way.
forget if you said this yet, but is there anything preventing us working with the city in May, like going sooner rather than later? Like, it seems like the artists are ready and May hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah, that's a great question. The two things though are pretty huge. One, well, three problems. A brand new one that came up when contracting or trying to get together with Forest Paint. I think Josh recommended we do that. Had a great talk with Philip there, the manager, and the paint that we need has been lost in supply chain issues. And so that could be a year out to where we get the paint. So that was a panic unto itself. But then like I've pivoted now and I'm back to Portland with the city repair and we're coming up with it. Okay, so paint is its own problem, but primarily.
Slow down. So you found paint here in Portland that could work?
Well, yeah, the paint that we needed is
Mhm.
lost for supply
Right.
chain, but Portland
We
City.
can't wait a year for that.
No, so Portland City Repair, I met with their director last week and
Wow,
they're
awesome.
trying to help us like think tank, and they've given me a new list of things
Oh.
that they know could work. And so now we've got to do testing. But that's the second part of that question, Claire, is a lot of this is weather, right? So we need, because of the short amount of time that the city is giving us, we need a very hot, very dry day. And as we all know, as Oregonians, it can be like a joke. So that's really partly why all of this planning I've done has been like, no, we're not even going to even think about opening a paint can until we're like close as we can to the end of July. And then the giant
That makes sense.
Oregon 22 kind of landed in our laps like a gigantic somebody.
Well, sounds like a reasonable case to bring to the CDC.
Exactly. I can't think of a better
August.
reason.
It really, just August.
Yeah. It's a really good reason. I mean, bye, Travis. Take care. Yeah, it sounds like a good reason. And again, it's just going to be lining up more dots. And, I just feel
It
bad
seems
for.
pretty clear that you have done all the due diligence here. And if the CDC can't see that, we'll just have to find another grant and take money from that because we need to pay artists and we need to do this project. This is important stuff. And
It is.
we've gone too far along and committed too much to give up on it. But the thing about the CDC is it's run by people. They're not unreasonable.
It's true. Yeah, they're good. They actually they did get contractual papers from their inner organizations that said they could extend contracts, but they had to be, very good reasons. And so, yeah, I think Oregon 22 is a really good one. So yeah, I was just shocked today though, because everything was so tight on schedule and I was so excited to like tell you guys, okay, we're in the race and here's our dates. And okay, Susan, you hook up with Elena, and Josh, you take so-and-so, and Claire's got Wade, and Gail take, and then just like, no. So yeah, today really felt like 100 steps forward and then 500 back. So, but that's what we got. So yeah.
So what's the process for asking the CDC? How do you go about doing that?
I just have to call my, there's a person that's in charge of our cohorts here on the West Coast. And so she's our grant officer. So I will
Okay.
just tell her. I mean, literally, I just got off the phone with the city and then was getting ready for, so as soon as it's back on business time on East Coast tomorrow, I'll just get on the horn and see what we can do. But yeah, I really wanted to have that conversation with Ian too, just to make sure that he can stay with us to see it through. And then the unpleasant thing with all the artists, because they are all, somebody changed a, holiday trip, somebody's,
I mean, the good thing is that you can really point to other people. I mean, people will be upset, but
right.
when it's out of your control, it's out of your control.
This wasn't anything anyone expected or
Like-
planned for or wanted. Yeah.
And I'm kind of,
Uh,
in a way, I feel like the city didn't happen to notice that they had this huge event happening in June when they were talking to you. That's what's going on in my mind. Like, you didn't notice that you're doing this thing over here when you're planning this?
yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah, well, it's a good one too. And I mean, they kind of chuckle sometimes because they didn't really realize the ambitiousness of this project. I think that when Ian started the placemaking conversations, he was like, hey, let's put a couple murals. And then all of a sudden they're like, it's 10. So that's been,
Yeah.
But it also,
Well, and it's a bureaucracy. So, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. And then sometimes they get together and they're like, wait, you're doing what? Oh, you can't do that. It happens all the time. It's kind
Sort
of,
of like,
it would be funny if it weren't so tragic.
yeah.
yeah, that's
like-
really
like
yeah.
Personally looking at your calendar and thinking, oh, I can do that. And then you're like, oh shit.
What was I thinking?
What was I thinking? I already had a whole thing planned on those days.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think
Yeah.
they'd
I think it's a little of that. And just as Oregon 22 builds, I mean, that just like, I guess part of me, I've just been like, la, 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 like, who cares? I'm not a sports fan. I don't give a rat's ass, like whatever they're going to do. And then, then to have it like dropped like that heavily, like, oh, the largest sports event in the world.
I had no idea.
Besides the Olympics. Like, why'd they choose Eugene? Well, obviously, but
Haywood Field
Field, yeah.
and Uncle Phil. That's it.
Uncle Phil, yeah. So, I mean, when we were talking today, she was like, look, we're just worried as traffic engineers,
Dollars.
how we can all just literally get anywhere
Yes, during that period of time.
as residents. Yeah.
I'm just cracking up about the fact that it's going to happen the weekend after the country fair because that already fucks everything up. And I'm like, well, that's going to be hilarious. You're going to have a whole influx of hippies and then they won't all have left by the time this whole influx
No.
of new people show up. So that'll be entertaining as hell.
Right.
It'll be an interesting July.
July sounds like it's going to be lit.
It's gonna be crazy around here. I'm just gonna treat it like as if it's the Cascadia. I'm gonna have
It's like
like a-
Carnival for the whole month.
Yeah.
It'll be terrible and hilarious and wonderful.
Oh my goodness. So Yeah, so today maybe this is a blessing that we can all just slow down, and this lets us focus on other stuff.
Worst case scenario, we pivot this project to something else and we put it on walls instead of in intersections. But we don't have to abandon this art. We don't have to abandon these artists. We may have to get creative if the city just won't play along, and that would be a huge tragedy. And we'll have to like beat them over the heads with art in intersections for the rest of their lives. Like the next 5 years, we're putting art in every single intersection in every neighborhood in the entire city, and they just have to deal with it. So they'll have to deal with us going down the road because we're going to make this happen. But if we have to take this art and do something else with it, I think we should just stay flexible. I'm not giving up, but it sounds like we got a lot of barriers, not the least of which being the right kind of fucking paint. Oh, sorry, no, we're recording. I probably shouldn't leave my pirate voice at home. But if we can't get the right paint, like that feels like a huge
It's
problem. So
It's
let's
true.
give the
It's
pirate,
true.
let's give the paint a time to get itself to manifest somewhere, and then maybe we'll paint intersections or maybe we'll commandeer walls. I want someone to paint the wall across the street from my house because it's ugly.
Yeah, the big yellow wall.
Yeah, it's gross. It's terrible.
I mean, I think I'm so grateful to have worked with the city and to feel like their excitement and willingness to work with us. And honestly, folks, that we presented them with this crazy like blah, and that they've actually been super gracious and accommodating and like, yes, we can help you. Let's, between Kate Ali and Jessica Watson at Cultural, I mean, everybody's just been amazing. And Cass, she's a senior traffic coordination engineer. Like everybody's been amazing. And I think
that alone is a minor miracle. And I think you should take credit for that, Doriandra.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a real honor to kind of see that inside and see the city be so excited about art for WCAT to do its work. I mean, that's been super exciting. So I think we really have their support. We just have this giant sport event right in the damn middle of it. So,
Everyone's learning a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like all the kinetic energy and all the ideas that I've been throwing at it, like trying to get a bicycling tour that would go from the Riverfront Festival to see the murals, like, because I thought we'd have at least like 6 or 7 of them done. So that's got to stop, like all this other related kind of community engagement that was so fun. Everything will slow down, but maybe we can kind of redirect and put some more big life into getting Art Walk up next month. That stalled for this month because, again, as the board was going through the transition, a lot of there was a big stall with our web developer. And so the interactive Art Walk map now probably won't get started until next month. So maybe we could start really thinking about some great ways to get our art walk going for May. As Ian had kind of put forth there, we would really focus on the interactive map that will be on the WCC website. And then we stop doing the paper flyers and then instead really lean into events, which then y'all can give to me. And then I will give to our social media manager and our graphic artist, and they can create fun boosted posts and event pages. And then we just really push to support our local businesses in that way for art walks. So maybe we'll pivot that direction while we wait for the CDC to say yes.
Makes sense. Yeah. Good plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have really loved hearing the WCC ads on the radio.
That's fun. I'm so
CRVM.
proud every time I hear them.
Yeah. Have you gotten any interest? Anybody emailing saying they want to help?
Well, again, things are a little nutty with the transition, or not nutty, but like we're still sorting out the emails that go to Ian's old address. So there's, but yeah, isn't that fun? Paul is amazing to work with. You were so true, Claire. He's so fun. I could just rattle off ideas and then he just puts the copy together so nicely.
We did have one person contact us. Hold on, let me pull that up because I actually texted her to say, hey, we're meeting. Do you want to join us? But she didn't obviously join us. But she said, please forgive me. I had it up and then I closed it and I should have left it up. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. It says, hello, I am the director of a local nonprofit called Artists for Action, and I'm interested in contacting anybody on the arts committee about a potential art exhibit. I tried to access the meeting on Monday. She tried to come last week, and of course, we were not meeting. Will someone give me a call so I can make a contact there to speak with directly? Thank you, Kat Cohen, and she left her phone number. So like I said, I texted her and said, hey, we're meeting. Do you want to join us?
Yep.
And I mentioned that we meet every other Monday. So obviously she couldn't make it this week, but maybe she'll show up next week. But I'm excited to hear more about Artists for Action and whatever art exhibit she's wants to pitch. I think it sounds
Good.
great.
Good. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I wrote to her as well, Gail. She's got my
Oh,
number.
good.
Yeah. So hopefully
Yeah, and I think she heard about it on the radio. So, that's
there we
that.
go.
There's one. So that's good.
Great. That's working. Good, good, good. Okay. Yeah, we've got, and then also I don't know if y'all watch TV, but the really beautiful Protected Together commercials with Nelson and Deborah are running on TV, which is just wild. Like I have the little funky Target or is it Walmart rabbit ears?
All right. Yeah.
And so like I can tune on sometimes if I want to kind of catastrophize and see the world news. They're like, oh, this drama, but then all of a sudden there'll be a WCC ad. It's so sweet. Nelson all like, la, la, la. It's so great. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, let's see. So what else do we have? Free wall, we've got the artists kind of waiting for that. That's, again, that's back in just production time, I guess, with Cordelia, the lawyer, because she's really trying to craft better contracts for all parties. We've had a lot of good conversations about recently or last week about really working with artists to have better language and clarity within contracts so that folks are protected and also feel that their work is carefully laid out. And for instance, with the free wall, because it's such an ephemeral and temporal thing, and there's a class involved, so she's developing the language to get ready for those folks to feel good. So, and then all of these.
Is there work on the contract in regards to the items that I brought up?
Yeah, we had a good talk about that today, and we hope to that's part of there's a lot of that Cordelia has to do now with the transition and stuff. So, but that is on the table, Susan. So we will we'll be able to expand in some way, because again, that's a tough one because it fell under that independent contractor position of it. So it's not my expertise to really speak about it, but definitely.
If there's some way that I could be involved in that conversation, because I feel like a stakeholder, because I brought this to the table. I haven't talked about it in the art committee at all, but should I talk about it here?
Could we have this conversation separately? Because I think it's a really important one, and there are some legal things that are, not that it's not appropriate for a public forum or shouldn't be recorded. That's not it at all. It's kind of legalese.
Whatever. I'm fine.
But I would like to speak to you. The only reason I'm popping in is because I'm the liaison for the board to the lawyer. So I'm the person who talks to the lawyer. So I would love to talk to you more about that, Susan, and obviously with Doriandra as well, because we want to make sure everybody is on the same page. So good. Thank you.
Perfect.
And Susan, this was the Gail that I mentioned in our last email that I wanted to connect with. Good. Okay.
I had the right face in my head. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, Gail's fabulous, and yeah, there's a lot of good opportunities here. And I don't know if I can speak for you, Gail, but this is kind of exciting because she was the vice president or vice chair for all this time.
Yeah, I knew that.
but I love that. Well, do you want to elaborate, Gail, like your reasons for kind of stepping into a more vocal place for us all?
Yeah, I was the vice chair last year, which was an interesting experience. And I learned a lot, and we did a lot of really great work. But one of the things that comes along with being a vice chair or a chair is that you speak for the organization, and that means I had to shut up a lot and sit on my hands and not say all of the things that I think, and that is really not who I am. I am kind of a person who has opinions, and I'm accustomed to voicing them. And I try to be, diplomatic. I'm not piss people off, but I can be a little spicy sometimes, and I push back. As vice chair, I couldn't be spicy or push back, and I felt very disempowered by that, which is weird because it's a position of power. But that's how power works. Sometimes you lose power when you get power in some situations.
Yep.
So one of the things that I did do as vice chair was say to Ian, "Hey, I want somebody to paint a mural in the middle of my intersection because people keep speeding down down Monroe Street, and it's scaring me, and it's going to kill my cat, and I hate it." And he said, "Oh, that's a good idea. I'll take it to WCAT." And I was like, "Oh, right, WCAT. I really want to get involved with those guys." But then Ian was involved with WCAT, so I was like, "Well, we can't both do that. That would be like weird, and feel like bossy. I don't know." Having both the chair and the vice chair, if it was my committee, I'd feel intimidated, even though we're nice people and we're volunteers. So I was like, "All right, fine, that's your thing. You do your thing." But now that he's stepping back, and now that I had a chance to reflect, I thought, I think I'd rather just be an at-large member, and then I can be as mouthy as I want to be and opinionated if I want to be. And I don't have to feel like I have to sit on my hands or keep my spiciness under control. And I can get involved with WCAT, which is something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. And since this mural project was something that I dropped into the bucket, I kind of want to see it through because I'm very excited about it. I think it's a brilliant way to support artists, make the neighborhood look cooler, and slow the fucking traffic. There I go again. Slow the traffic down again in our neighborhoods because we live here and we don't really want raceways going past our homes. Any of us. I know that's true. Monroe Street is particularly problematic, but it happens all over the neighborhood. I'm not unique in needing slowing to the traffic. And I like murals because they don't slow down emergency vehicles. So they're a really nice way to be traffic calming without actually causing any sort of barrier to emergency response or, any of those kinds of things. Plus, you don't have to put extra asphalt down, which I'm really in favor of not doing that, although I'm happy about the speed bumps on the Butte. So I decided not to run for vice chair. And ran for an at-large position instead. And then Delinia asked me to be the liaison for the WCC to WCAT, and I said, yes, great. So I'm going to represent you to the board, not in your place. You're always all welcome to come and represent yourselves. That's what an open meeting is about. But you don't have to if you don't want to, because I'll be happy to be that bridge between WCAT and the board. And I'm hoping that I can make that a good relationship because I think WCAT's amazing and powerful and important. And one of the things that I admire about it is that it is a little bit of an anarcho collective where you use consensus-based decision making and everybody contributes and you don't have a hierarchy. So I'm going to hold that line when I come back to the board because there's a little bit of a push for organization, which translates to hierarchy, which I don't like. So I'm going to stand in that gap, I hope, and prevent that from being a thing anybody here has to think about or deal with. And in any other way that I can stand in the gap and stand for this committee in particular, I want to do that because I believe in what you do. I love what you've done for our neighborhood, and I think it's much nicer because WCAT exists. So there you go. There's my spiel.
Thank you. It's nice.
So thanks for inviting me.
So
and
yes,
I'm
a
glad
separate
to be here.
conversation would be great.
Thanks, Susan. I'm on your side too. I'm on everybody's side. Is that possible? I don't know if that's
too.
possible.
I'm
do
on
my
your
best.
side, Susan. Good stuff. All right, folks. Well, what else? Got a couple minutes left.
I will point out that my initial idea was to go out with cans of paint and just make a big old blobby paint mandala in the middle of the intersection in the middle of the night. But of course, since we're being recorded, I didn't have that idea, and I would never do that, knowing that I would never advocate for anyone to do that, and that would be a terrible, terrible idea if someone were to do it, and I would probably be really sad, or maybe I wouldn't.
There were things like that that happened in the past. I'm not saying who did them or how I know about that, but
Is it like Fight Club? You just don't talk about it, right? well, yeah, things were getting so frustrated with the free wall not being able to get built that, yeah, I think I heard that on here a couple times. Oh, we're just gonna go do it.
Let's get-
I will say one word, suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question that's completely separate from our WCAT that I want to ask, and you can tell me how to follow up. How does one raise concerns about how all the homeless people are, there's so much homeless stuff along the railroad tracks? Like, do I come to the Whitaker Community Council and ask that question? Is there a committee that's?
That is an excellent question, and there are, yes, please. The short answer is please do come. And we have a
Yeah.
public comment period in the beginning where we would love to have you ask those questions.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
longer answer is we have a housing committee, which is
Yeah.
working on general issues of housing. And we've been talking, oh my God, we've so been talking to the city and to the chief of police and to the head of human resources or human, I forget what
I
it's even
do go
called,
to
that
the
come in.
meetings and I
Yeah, no,
listen.
I've seen you there.
Yeah.
As far
I
as
just
the
noticed.
things that go on at Union Pacific, I think Thea is probably your best contact there. Do you know Thea on the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, she has been working. The trouble is that Union Pacific, because it's like a country unto itself, it does what
Yeah.
it wants,
Do
and
nothing.
it's very difficult for us to get them to talk to us. Like they just don't care.
Okay.
And so they do what they do. But I agree,
Nothing.
it's a concern,
They do
which
nothing.
is very little to nothing. Yeah, it is really a concern because those people are in danger. They're right next to the tracks, and it's not sanitary. There's a lot of issues there
It's
that
a
need to be
city down
addressed.
there. It's a whole.
It is a
frickin'
whole little shanty town, and it's
Yeah.
very sad.
Yeah.
And it's what happened because of the
Yeah.
upcoming sporting event, because they needed
Yeah.
to clean up the park,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so they
Push everybody up.
well, they tried to accommodate people. I'll give them credit for doing some effort of trying, but they had no plan for the people who didn't want to do what they wanted them to do. And
Yeah.
when we tried to hold their feet to the fire, they went, "Oh yeah, we hear you," and that's a legitimate concern. And then they just didn't do anything. It's a very frustrating situation. I feel you, Susan. I'm really upset. I see it every day, and it's not right.
So I'll go to a meeting and I'll ask and
Please
I'll
do.
follow up. Thanks.
Yeah, let's
I
keep
know it's
making
not a
noise about
WCAT
it.
thing, but it's just on my
It's a
mind.
neighborhood thing. Yeah. Plus, you got me here, so I can answer that.
I swear, I think I overheard Thea saying or told me or somebody that Union Pacific, the person that she talks to there had said that like we have the most chaotic stretch of railroad here in Eugene from all the way from Canada to Mexico. Like it's absolutely out of control right here. And it's just sorrowful that folks.
All the more reason to do something about it.
They are
Yes.
going to put fencing up. That's part of the plan. It's a part of. It's coming from Obi's traffic train quieting bull crapola, and I hate every single piece of it except that possibly those fences that they will be erecting all the way along the train tracks, which is part of how they can justify not blowing the horns as much. That those will also limit access for people who are illegally camping. And it may be that they're just waiting until they put the fences up and then they're going to sweep everybody from there. But I don't know where they're going to go then. They'll probably go to the river and then we'll have a whole different issue. Human waste in the river. We have a bigger problem than just moving people. But I think there is some motion happening with the train quieting that might help. Maybe. It's chaotic. Well, the mission is right there, and then we have 2 safe sleep spots right on the other side of the bridge that are adjacent to the tracks. There's a lot of community there for unhoused people that to be drawn to, and so it's not surprising that they put tents up. You know, who wants to walk forever to get dinner and resources? Nobody.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm serious about that wall across the street from me, though. If anybody knows a Gorilla Midnight muralist. I kind of want to see like an Art Nouveau goddess with maybe grapes and hops and apples and bees and
Just
I don't know.
Brinkerhoff.
Yeah, very much. Or like a Muncha kind of thing. Yeah, something with lots of softness. I don't know. Anything's better than that ugly yellow wall. Bye, Claire. She's already gone.
Yeah, she's already gone.
Okay.
All
I'm
right,
gonna go-
folks.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go later.
Great to see y'all and really good to chat through these things. So see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks so
All right.
much.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
La vista.
Thank you all. Good night.
Bye.
Night.